Welcome, listeners. Imagine spending a quiet afternoon by the lake, the gentle ripples of water, the soft rustling of leaves, a perfect escape from the world. Now picture that peace shattered by something unexpected, something you can't quite explain. One fisherman thought he was in for a routine day on the water, but what he pulled from the depths would change everything. A strange catch, an ominous warning, and a mystery that refused to stay buried. Stay with me, because this is a story you won't forget. He spent most of his weekends out on the water. One day, he decided to try out a new lake that was a few hours away, and he was really excited about it. There, he would make a catch that he was going to remember for the rest of his life. What he didn't know was that his excitement would soon change to horror. Finally, he had been waiting for hours without making a single catch, and he almost thought there was something wrong with this lake. He was almost ready to give up and go home, but now his patience was rewarded. Of course, he didn't do this, as he had no idea that this particular catch was going to end in disaster. He always returned all the animals he caught into the water, but not before taking a good look at them. This fish was unlike anything he had ever seen before. He wiped his hands and grabbed his phone, wanting to look it up online. He soon found out that this was probably some kind of flying fish, but he could not find anything about this exact breed. He took a picture of the fish and posted it on an online fishing forum, asking if anyone knew what type of fish this was. Now that he knew the lake wasn't empty after all, he was willing to give it another shot while he waited. About an hour later, he finally remembered to check his phone again. As he unlocked it, he saw that he had a few notifications about comments on the picture that he had posted earlier, and he smiled. He was a little bit disappointed when he saw that most of the comments were from people who were just as curious about the fish as he was. One user named Mark had commented, "Get away from there now. What do you think you are doing?" Jake frowned as he read this and decided to send him a private message. He had no idea what it meant, but it was certainly a strange thing to comment. 10 minutes went by without any movement at all. This was when Jake realized that it was completely silent. His eyes widened in surprise when he saw that he had received a reply. It read, "Are you blind?" "Get away from that place!" Jake's fingers flew over the keyboard, typing, "Can you explain what's so dangerous about this fish?" But the only response was a notification that Mark had blocked him. Sitting by the serene lake, Jake's mind whirled with frustration. Mark's cryptic warnings clashed with the peaceful setting. He gently scooped the mysterious fish from the bucket, observing its unique features one last time before releasing it back into the lake. The fish swam away swiftly, disappearing into the depths. Jake watched it go, a sense of relief washing over him. As Jake drove home, the events of the day replayed in his mind. The excitement of catching the strange fish, the unsettling quiet of the lake, and Mark's bizarre messages. Despite the day's oddities, he felt a sense of accomplishment. Unbeknownst to him, the consequences of his encounter with the strange fish were just beginning to unfold. Jake awoke to an alarming sight. His hands were red, swollen, and itching unbearably. Confusion and panic set in as he tried to recall any unusual contact or allergies, but his mind kept drifting back to the previous day's fishing trip and the strange fish he had caught and released. Without wasting a moment, Jake rushed to the nearest doctor. The drive seemed endless, his hands burning with an itch that wouldn't subside. He explained his symptoms to the doctor, who examined his inflamed hands with a furrowed brow. A seasoned veterinarian with a keen eye for aquatic creatures greeted Jake warmly as she listened to him recount his fishing trip. Her interest piqued noticeably. Dr. Emily's curiosity grew as Jake detailed his experience with the strange fish. "Did you notice anything else unusual about the lake that day?" she asked, her tone suggesting a deeper layer of concern. Jake recalled the eerie silence, the absence of birds, and the unsettling stillness of the lake, adding more pieces to the puzzling situation he now found himself in. As Jake described the fish, Dr. Emily's attention never wavered. Her concern grew with each word. She scribbled notes rapidly, her expression turning from curiosity to worry. Jake could sense that his tale was more than just a fisherman's story. Dr. Emily began to piece together the puzzle. She connected Jake's symptoms to his contact with the strange fish and the peculiar circumstances of the lake. Her expression grew serious as she considered the potential implications. With a tone of caution, Dr. Emily advised Jake to avoid any contact with water bodies and fish until they had more answers. "We must wait for the test results," she stressed. Back at home, Jake couldn't shake off the eerie silence of the lake from his mind. It haunted him, that unnatural quiet, as if the lake itself was holding its breath. While awaiting the test results, Jake's mind kept replaying the fishing trip, the mysterious fish with its peculiar features, the way it had felt in his hands, and the strange warnings from Mark. He hoped the results would offer some explanation, some rational understanding of the bizarre events he had experienced. As the hours passed, Jake's concern grew. The unanswered questions multiplied, and with them, a growing anxiety. Determined to find answers, Jake decided to return to the lake. He needed to see if there was anything he had missed, any clue that could explain the fish's peculiarities and his own condition. The drive back was filled with a mix of dread and determination. As Jake arrived at the lake, the same eerie silence greeted him. It was as if the lake was frozen in time, devoid of the usual sounds of nature. The emptiness of the lake seemed to mirror his own growing fears, amplifying the sense that something was not right. This silence, so different from his previous visits, deepened the enigma surrounding the lake. It was as if the water held secrets that were slowly beginning to surface in Jake's mind. The silence, the fish, the warning from Mark, they all seemed to be pieces of a puzzle he couldn't yet solve, leaving him with more questions than answers. Jake's contemplation was interrupted by the arrival of a group of environmental inspectors at the lake. Dressed in official gear, they surveyed the area with a sense of purpose. Their presence was unexpected, and he felt a flicker of hope that they might shed light on the lake's mysteries. Jake shared his experience, especially about the peculiar fish he had caught. The inspectors listened intently, their interest visibly piqued by his story. Encouraged by their interest, Jake pulled out his phone and showed them the photo of the fish. He watched their expressions closely, expecting curiosity, but instead, he saw a sudden seriousness take over their faces. "We've never seen anything like this," one of them muttered. Without delay, Jake called Dr. Emily, his voice tense as he relayed the inspector's concerns. She listened intently, her tone shifting to one of urgency. "We need to act fast," she said, preparing for a deeper examination of the situation. The inspectors informed Dr. Emily about their suspicions regarding the fish, highlighting its potential danger. Dr. Emily's response was grave, her words careful yet filled with a sense of pressing importance. The conversation marked a turning point, revealing just how critical the situation had become. Together, Jake, the inspectors, and Dr. Emily acknowledged the need for swift action. The mystery of the fish's nature and its potential threat to human health and the environment required urgent attention. It was now a mission of public safety.